Comedy and Magic Club with another episode of Behind the Punchlines. How do you come up with new jokes and material? A lot of times I'm just talking to my friends, like off stage, just hanging around with friends, and I'll tell them a funny story, like, can you believe this happened to me? And like they'll laugh and go, that's really funny. And then I'll be like, okay, there's a bit there. I am not very disciplined. There's some comedians that sit down and like, you know, they sit down for an hour every day or 2 hours every day or like an hour a week, and they'll like with a notebook and they'll like make sure. I've tried doing that and that never works for me. Like those jokes never work out for me. So for me, it's always just spontaneous. Like I'm either telling a story of something that happened to me to friends, or I'm trying something out on stage, and that's how I write new material. Do you have any comedic influences from outside of the stand-up comedy world, such as actors or writers? Yes, Carol Burnett and Lucille Ball. I mean, those women were freaking amazing. Just like, I remember watching I Love Lucy reruns. You know, they would run them like randomly during the day, like on regular TV when I was growing up. And I was like, she's still like it's still like one of the funniest sitcoms, and she's so funny. She's physically funny and her face is funny and she's just so committed. And the same thing with Carol Burnett. It's something about the commitment to the bit. Like they didn't break, they stayed in character, they gave 110%, and they were just so talented and like physically funny. And God, I think they're so amazing. Carol Burnett and Lucille Ball. Amazing. Can you share any memorable interactions or encounters with fans after a show? I love when people come up to me after a show and say, I saw you 6 years ago at such and such place. Or I was on a cruise and I saw you on the cruise, and then I saw that you were coming here years later, and I remembered you from that long ago, and so I had to get tickets. That always makes me feel so amazing when people saw me years ago and they still remember me enough to be like, oh my God, there's that girl. Even though they may not remember my name, they're like, oh my God, she was hilarious, and they'll buy tickets to come see me like years later. That always makes me feel so amazing. Like, feeds my narcissistic ego. That feeds my ego so much. I love it so much. Even if that's not you, please lie to me and tell me that that's you. Do I have any pre-show rituals or routines? Yes, I shadow box. Da-da-da. No, I don't. I don't. You know what? Something that a lot of comics can do that I can't do is eat. I can't eat for 2 hours before I go on stage, or I will feel sick on stage. Like I'll get indigestion, I'll feel gurgly. I know comics that are like literally shoving the last bite of dinner on their, like as their name is being called to the stage, and I'm like, that is insane to me. I can't eat for 2 hours. If I eat within 2 hours, literally 2 whole hours before I get on stage, I'm on stage and I'm like, like this is just bad news bears. So I can't eat, but I do shadow box. What advice would you give to aspiring comedians just starting out? Just try to, stab other comedians to get them out of your way. Just kill them. Poison works. A little shank, secret shank. Don't do that. Don't commit violence against other comedians, because there's so many, you'll never get to them all. What you should do is just get as much stage time as you possibly can. Open mics, start your own show, produce your own show. I've done shows in my backyard for my neighbors when I needed stage time, like when I was prepping for something. So like however you can do it, stage time is key when you're starting out. It's gold. It is the only way you get good. So get as much stage time as you possibly can. How did you first get into stand-up comedy? I took a class, which is like not the regular way, but I was living in New York City and I didn't even know stand-up was a job that you could do because I come from an immigrant household. Like my parents are Korean immigrants, and if I told them that I wanted to be a stand-up comic, they'd be like, what? And that would be it. So I didn't know it was a job you could do, but a friend of a friend invited me to his stand-up comedy class graduation show. And I was like, you can take stand-up comedy class? So I went to the graduation show. By the way, that friend of a friend was terrible, but whatever. It was his first time performing in front of a crowd. And on the tables were little cards that said, hey, if you want to take this class also, you should take this class. And I was like, I want to take the class. This was at Caroline's on Broadway in New York City. And I signed up for the class, and it was like a 10-week class with like 8 other, people who had never done stand-up before, which was a really nice way to get into it. But then our graduation show, because everyone invited everyone we knew, had 250 people. Like literally Caroline's was sold out at like 5 p.m. on a Sunday. And I was so nervous. I was sweating. I was like pacing. I was like freaking out. I didn't eat anything all day. But the first time I got that first laugh, it was like crack and meth and heroin and all the drugs, opioid, it was all that rolled into one. I was like, what? I need more. Yes! That's how good it was. What's the most unusual or unique location where you've performed stand-up comedy? I've performed stand-up comedy in a women's prison.
What?
Yes, I've performed stand-up comedy in a minimum security women's prison here in California. Where the common area outside of prison cells. Like where their cells were, there was like a common area where they would like eat their meals and stuff. It was minimum security, but it was still a prison. And like to get in, I had to like empty all my pockets and go through a metal detector, and they had to pat me down and stuff. And it was like, but you know what? They were amazing and thankful. Same with, I've also performed at a homeless shelter for homeless people called the Midnight Mission. It's the one that Dick Van Dyke actually does a lot of work with, the Midnight Mission in downtown LA. So I've performed there for homeless individuals, and it was the same thing. So thankful. So, you think you're so different from these people, but there's universal things that people always find funny. So those were both performing in a women's prison and performing for a homeless shelter, at a homeless shelter for homeless people. Those were like really amazing experience that made me realize like how similar humans are. You know what I mean? Like there's a thread of commonality in all of humanity that, people laugh at the same kind of things like universally all over the place. So those were amazing experiences.
Do you remember first time you ever performed here at the Comedy Magic Club?
I don't remember exactly the exact first time I performed here at the Comedy Magic Club, but I remember I was very nervous because the Comedy and Magic Club is a very legendary and venerable club. Every comedian wants to get into this club. I had only been living in LA for a couple of years, and I had heard all this stuff, like the legend and the lore, and it's like Jay Leno's home club and all these amazing, like big name veterans perform here. Also, you have to be squeaky clean. That's what I remember. And I am not a squeaky clean comedian. Like, I love an F-bomb. So I just remember like I was really nervous, and I like went over my set. I was like really preparing, and I was like, I need to like have my P's and Q's, like I have to be on point, and Helen, don't drop an F-bomb whenever you do, don't say any curse words. That's pretty much like the entire time I was on set. I was like, on stage the first time I was like, don't curse, Helen, don't drop an F-bomb, don't drop an S-bomb, don't drop any bombs, just keep it real squeaky clean, like PG. And I guess I did well enough to get invited back, and now it's like
how long
10 years later, 9 years later, something like that. So I'm really, really honored and happy to call this club one of my home clubs in LA, and I really love it, and the staff here is so wonderful, and the green room hang is magic. It's the best green room hang anywhere in the country, probably. Yeah. Like, it's so amazing, like the camaraderie, and I learn so much every time I come here, and I get pointers, and I like, hey, have you ever played this club? And hey, I have a tag for you for this joke. Like, the camaraderie is so great at this club, and so is the salmon.
That's your favorite?
The salmon is the bomb. .net. Wait, that's not how it goes.
And is this the first time that you open for Kevin Nealon?
Tonight is my first time opening for Kevin Nealon, which is pretty cool. Because he's like, you know, a big legendary comic. And then this coming Sunday is the first time that I'll be opening for Jay Leno. I've never even been in a room with Jay Leno, and this is his home club, and this is one of my home clubs in LA. So it's interesting that we've never performed together, or even been in the same room together. So I'm really looking forward to opening for him, and yeah, I love it. It's one of the great things about working here at the Comedy and Magic Club is like the cool opportunities that you get, and the cool, like, long-time veteran, amazing stand-up comedians that you get to work with.
Can you tell us where we can find more about your work? Tell us about your podcast.
Yes, so a lot of people might know me because I'm on a very popular NPR podcast called Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, and I'm on there like about once a month. So a lot of people may recognize my voice, but not my face, which I think is sad because, I mean, look at this face.
Love you.
I also host another podcast, trivia podcast called Go Fact Yourself. Go Fact Yourself. And then I also, you know, I'm on a bunch of TV shows, and you can follow me on the socials at Funny Helen Hong. It's gotta be Funny Helen Hong because some other bitch has at Helen Hong, and I have yet to kill her. So don't follow at Helen Hong because she ain't funny. Funny Helen Hong is funny.